Hello, I'm Malcolm. Welcome to edition 1997 of the Enfield Talking Newspaper. With me on the reading team for Thursday the 9th of April 2015 are Katherin and Ross, with Jason on the controls. And the items we'll be reading are the copyright of our local newspapers, the Enfield Gazette and Advertiser, and the Enfield Independent. This week's local stories include more things going missing from council leisure centres, the local candidates in the general election, you might have heard that, about that, and 60 years of teaching is something to sing about. But before we go to the papers, just a reminder that you have a listener's representative, Diane de Jersey, who will be happy to help you with any problems or concerns you have about your talking newspaper, and you can call Diane on 020 8805 6578. That's 020 8805 6578. And now here's Katherin with the first news item.
A former Labour MP is hoping to reclaim her seat when voters decide who will be the next Enfield North MP on May the 7th. The constituency is made up of 66,000 people from The Chase, Enfield Highway, Enfield Lock, Highlands, Southbury, Town and Turkey Street wards of Enfield Borough. This year's election will see an old rivalry rekindled as Joan Ryan, Labour MP for the constituency from 1997 to 2010, goes up against the sitting Conservative candidate, Nick Dubois. In 2010, Ms Ryan lost her seat to Mr Dubois, who currently has a 1,692 majority. Other candidates in the race include Deborah Cairns for UKIP, David Flint for the Green Party and Cara Jenkinson for the Liberal Democrats. The parliamentary constituency of Edmonton will say goodbye to its long-serving MP when the general election takes place. Labour politician Andy Love will step down from the seat he has held since 1997. His last majority in 2010 was 9,613, almost 4,000 fewer than his winning margin in 1997. He will be replaced as Labour's candidate by Labour National Committee member Kate Osamore, who beat off competition from local figures to claim the nomination. Meanwhile, South West Enfield Action Team founder Gonal Daniels has been selected as the Conservative candidate. Douglas Coker will be standing for the Greens, Neville Watson will be hoping to win the seat for UKIP, and David Schmitz will be standing for the Liberal Democrats. The seat has been held by 6 Labour MPs and just 3 Conservatives since 1918 and covers the wards of Bush Hill Park, Edmonton Green, Hazelbury, Jubilee, Lower Edmonton, Ponders End and Upper Edmonton. Conservative candidate David Burrows is seeking a third term as the MP for Enfield Southgate when voters go to the polls. Covering the wards of Bowes, Cockfosters, Grange, Palmers Green, Southgate, Southgate Green and Winchmore Hill, this constituency has been predominantly Tory since its creation in 1950. It was famously held by former Conservative Defence Secretary Michael Portillo until his surprise defeat to Labour's Stephen Twigg in 1997, when he lost his 15,563 majority. Mr Burrows ousted the Labour MP in 2005, winning a majority of 1,747 and increasing that to 7,626 in 2010. This May, he will be up against Labour's councillor Bambos Charalambos, who also contested the seat at the last election. The Enfield Borough councillor was some way off the seat in 2010 and will need to harness the Labour support of 1997 if he is to emerge triumphant in May. Former Conservative councillor David Schofield will represent UKIP in the constituency, with former Enfield North candidate Paul Smith representing the Liberal Democrats. Jean Robertson-Malloy will represent the Green Party.
Teachers and former pupils gathered at a school to celebrate its 60th anniversary. Worcester's primary school in Goat Lane, Enfield, welcomed those past and present to its new extended school as pupils gave tours around their site. A temporary museum also gave people the chance to revisit the site, reports and photographs. Karen Yagi, head teacher at Worcester's, told the Enfield Independent, "We have a great history here, and the school is going from strength to strength. We've all learnt a lot this week about the school's past, and it's wonderful to have people who have served the school back for our big day." On the evening of March the 26th, counsellors and other pupils were invited to watch a performance from the school choir.
The number of items missing or stolen from council leisure centres in Enfield has nearly doubled over the past 2 years. In 2013, people reported that 56 items had disappeared from the 7 centres, and by 2014 this had increased to 108. According to data released under a Freedom of Information request, Southbury Leisure Centre reported the highest number of missing or stolen items last year. Pardon me, a total of 43 compared with 25 the previous year. Staff at the centre in Southbury Road, Enfield, also recorded the highest number of items missing in a month, with a total of 10 disappearing in June 2014. Activities that take place at the centre include swimming, gym and exercise classes. Edmonton Leisure Centre in the Broadway, Edmonton Green, has also seen the number of missing items increase over the past 2 years. 6 items were noted in 2013 and 34 were recorded as disappearing in 2014. Southgate Leisure Centre in Winchmore Hill Road recorded 22 missing items last year, down from 26 in 2013. There were no records of items going missing over the same 2-year period at Arnos Pool in Bowes Road, Arnos Grove, Bramley Squash and Bowl Centre in Chaseside Cockfosters, and Aspire Sports Centre in Church Street, Edmonton. Just 9 items were recorded missing at Albany Leisure Centre in 2013, with another 9 noted at the centre in Hertford Road, Enfield Highway last year. Fusion Lifestyle, which runs leisure centres for Enfield Council, told the Advertiser, Fusion Lifestyle takes all loss or theft of personal belongings of customers very seriously, and the police are involved as standard procedure upon report of any theft at our centres. We're also advising customers to use the personal lockers located within reception areas to store any valuables. While the number of reported losses or thefts of items at Enfield Leisure Centres has increased over the past year, so has the volume of visitors to those sites, as improvements to facilities see more local residents signing up as members.
A man has been given more than £8,000 in compensation after the police used a taser on him. The police are also facing a second larger legal bill after Judge Simon Freeland reported the claim of Daniel Sylvester, 53, of Edmonton Green. The father of 7 was stopped by police on October the 20th, 2007 in Bounces Road, Edmonton, after they believed his Mercedes Jeep, which Mr. Sylvester had bought in 2005, was involved in an earlier shooting. He was then tasered by police once he stepped out of his car. Mr. Sylvester was also stopped by officers 3 times in the space of 9 months between 2007 and 2008. A jury ruled that Mr. Sylvester's case stood up and agreed that the police were unreasonable to use the taser, with the Metropolitan Police ordered to pay compensation and legal costs. The jury rejected claims from Mr. Sylvester that officers pointed guns at him as they approached his car and that a boot was placed on his head when he was on the ground. It is believed that Mr. Sylvester's legal costs could come to £250,000, yet a Met spokeswoman revealed that no fee had been agreed. She said, "We are giving serious consideration to appealing against this decision on costs. The final amount payable has not been determined yet."
Enfield Campaign Group for Older Residents, which warned last year against using a free medication delivery service, claimed this week it had been vindicated after the company had exposed for selling personal details of its customers for profit. The Enfield Over 50s Forum warned people in November to think twice about signing up for Pharmacy to You, an online pharmacy with NHS accreditation, which has sent letters to residents inviting them to join. The forum feared that this would undermine the role of the pharmacist in the community. However, last week it was disclosed by a national newspaper that the company had sold patients' email addresses, dates of birth, and details of their last prescription without their consent, knowledge, to a marketing firm, which then sold on personal details to companies targeting the sick. In a statement, Pharmacy to You admitted it had sold only name and address information, but said no permission for any other data to be sold had been provided by the company, and that any other data provided to the marketing company was provided under a strict agreement for the internal purposes and not for sale external parties. The revelations have led to calls from Labour's health spokesman Andy Burnham for the government to launch an inquiry into whether the company had acted illegally and for it to be suspended for an approved NHS distributor. Monty Meth, president of Enfield Over 50s Forum, echoed concerns and said that after the general election, the group would be urging Enfield's 3 MPs to press for a government inquiry to ascertain how Pharmacy to You have obtained the names, addresses, postcodes and the surgeries to which their constituents were attached. Were they given or sold to Pharmacy to You by the NHS, or part of the efficiency drive to get more patients involved in electronic prescribing, asked Mr Meth. We opposed Pharmacy to You offering repeat prescriptions without leaving home because it cuts out vital personal contact with the local company pharmacy and the important need to have a regular GP check. Our opposition to the medication postal delivery scheme has been vindicated at the highest level, and since it has now been established that Pharmacy to You also ran an online doctor consultation from the same site, patients' details were sold on without permission.
Patients can now use the web to book appointments with their doctor in every surgery in the borough, a health watchdog has revealed. The latest audit, carried out by Health Watch Enfield, has revealed that it's possible to book appointments and repeat prescriptions online. However, the report also finds that only 8% of residents have used the web to book with their doctor, with 92% of people relying on phoning or popping into surgeries in person. According to the audit report, 61% of people who responded to questionnaires were completely unaware that they could even access appointment bookings online. However, the watchdog pointed out that not all surgeries' websites offered the service and that some patients would have to get access to the service through the NHS Choices website. Lorna Reith, the chief executive of Health Watch Enfield, said that if more people knew about the methods available to them for making bookings and appointments, it would eventually ease pressure on GP phone lines and receptionists. She added, compared to the findings from our audit in September, our latest audit shows a big improvement in the quality of online information about GP services, though we would still like to see more practices include information about interpreters on their websites.
London's first pop-up college has been launched. Enfield Thinks, based in Burley Way, Enfield Town, will offer a range of learning courses, careers and pastimes after opening its doors yesterday. The first course will be a 2-week language school for GCSE and A-level students. Enfield Borough Council's Cabinet Member for Economic Development, Councillor Alan Sitkin, said, "This is a brilliant project designed to encourage people of all ages to try different qualifications and to do the subjects traditionally seen as difficult, such as science, technology, engineering and maths. We want to help students make informed choices and promote the options available to career changers and people re-entering the labour market. We also hope to promote the educational options available for retired people and inspire intellectual curiosity amongst Enfield's residents. The project, backed by Enfield Council, Birkbeck University of London, Christian Action Housing Association, Capel Manor College, Barnet and Southgate College, and supported by the Mayor of London. David Byrne, principal of Barnet and Southgate College, said, "The pop-up learning zone is open to anyone, but particularly if you're at school or college considering your future options. Enfield Thinks will give you a chance to experience potential qualifications, evaluate possible career paths, and also get involved with debates, revision workshops and film screenings. It's a great opportunity to try something new at no cost to the student."
An exciting new era began at Forty Hall Farm yesterday when the newly built visitor centre and farm shop was officially opened for business. The success of the venture, jointly funded by Capel Manor College and the council, was toasted with the farm's own much sought-after 2013 vintage wine. In opening the centre, Brigadier Andrew Parker Bowles, OBE, reflected on his family's ownership of Forty Hall since his great-grandfather, who lived at Middleton House, bought it for his grandfather as a wedding present in 1894. He went on to praise the developments and restoration of the farm since Enfield Council bought the property from his father in 1951. Capel Manor College is collating old photos and memories of the farm to create history displays for visitors, and are asking the public to help by sharing their recollections. Your memorabilia and memories could win you a rare bottle of 40 Hall wine. If you can help, please contact Kate McGeever at kate.mcgeever@capel.ac.uk. That's KATE.mcgeever@capel.ac.uk.
A book covering a transitional period of Enfield's history has been released. A Time of Change is the fourth volume by the Enfield Society and will cover 30 years of history between 1939 and 1969. It includes chapters about life in Enfield, Edmonton and Southgate during the war, the austerity of the late 1940s, the difficult 1950s and the swinging 60s. There are more than 200 illustrations, mainly photographs, within the book. Author Monica Smith, a long-time resident of Enfield and active member of the Society, said, "I'm not a historian, and so this book is very different from David Pam's scholarly 3 volumes, which it follows. It's rather a social history of the years 1939 to 1969 and recalls the decades that I and many other Enfield residents have lived through."
A new town centre parking scheme to help small businesses has been launched. Enfield Business and Retailers Association, EBRA, has launched the scheme in a bid to help boost trade in high streets. Shoppers who sign up on the website free of charge will be able to get a partial or possible full refund on parking, depending on how much they spend in certain small businesses. Businesses who signed up will set their own levels of refunds depending on how much is spent. It was launched at G. Johns & Sons Brassware in Green Lanes, Winchmore Hill. Mark Lever of EBRA said, "This is a great way to help businesses with trade and encourages people to stay in our independent stores longer, as they know stores will help pay for their parking." Vic Smith of Vic Smith Beds in Southgate and Enfield Town has sponsored the scheme and is calling on Enfield Borough Council to show its support. He said, "It was a no-brainer to support this scheme. I'm behind anything that can help more people shop locally and help our high streets. I would like to see the council show its support for the scheme by promoting it on its website." The scheme will be offered across the borough, and Town Centre Manager for Enfield, Mark Rudling, wanted to ensure there was no confusion around the policy. He said, "People will still have to pay to park in town centres and then get the refund from certain stores. Otherwise, they will still get parking tickets."
Plans to reopen a pub have caused an uproar among people living nearby who fear the return of antisocial behaviour. The Willow pub in Winchmore Hill Road, Winchmore Hill, closed more than 2 years ago, but is now set to be relaunched as the Winchmore, and has applied for a late-night licence to be served alcohol after midnight on Friday nights. The latest application by Star Pubs has left neighbours living near the pub in shock after the Willow lost its application for a late licence in 2011. Katrina Armitage of Houndsdon Road, Winchmore Hill, has lived in the road adjacent to the pub for 15 years and fears late opening hours will have a major impact on the area. She said, "We had a lot of antisocial behaviour and the noise was intolerable on Friday nights. The pub never wanted to attract locals last time and only seemed to have 18th or 21st birthday parties. We want to see a gastropub in the area that will appeal to many people around here, but it is a very worrying sign that the pub has already applied for a late licence." Neighbours took the previous owners of the pub to court regarding the late licence, and Miss Armitage told the Enfield Independent people living in the area would have no problem doing the same again if noise levels soared. She said, "We have already expressed our objection to the late licence, and I think the owners should look at the previous record to realise we will take this further if necessary. Before, my daughter had to sleep in another room because of the level of noise and aggressive behaviour, and we will not stand for it again." Star Pub submitted their application on March the 17th. Aretti Woods of Church Hill, opposite the pub, added, "I feel the pub should be communicating with us. None of us want to return to the hideous days where I used to find bottles and syringes. We want a nice, pleasant pub for families who live around here, but not having a late-night licence is not promoting that." An Enfield Borough Council spokesman said, "We cannot comment on individual applications, but our licensing subcommittee always seeks to ensure that late licence applications are proportionate and that premises operating under them do not have a negative impact on the people who live nearby." A spokesman for Star Pubs said, "We can confirm that a late-night licence has been applied for by the Winchmore, formerly known as the Willow. However, the new licensees, brother and sister Mark and Emma Walsh, want to reassure residents, that there will be no DJ and no late-night music. The intention is to allow customers to have a relaxed, less pressured end to their evening. The pub will be firmly family-placed, offering a good food and quality drinks." Soon-to-be new residents themselves, Mark and Emma will be attending a Residents' Association meeting on April the 23rd and will be happy to answer any questions.
A school was not giving up for Lent this year, but instead set its pupils a challenge to help others. Pupils at Bishop Stopford School in Brick Lane, Enfield, took part in the Fill the Bag scheme. The aim was to fill bags with recyclable clothes and shoes that will then be sold to raise money and support projects in developing countries or sent directly. More than 30 bags of clothing have been donated by students and staff in just a few weeks. John Seabrook, assistant head teacher responsible for school worship, said, "Lent is an important time in the Christian year. Fill the Bag," which is spelled Phil after presumably Bishop Stopford School. I don't know actually why. I don't know why it's called Fill the Bag. Anyway, Fill the Bag is enabling our students to put the Christian ethos of the school into practice by doing something extra for others.
Major employers set out their stalls at Enfield Borough Council's 17th Annual Jobs Fair. The College of Haringey, Enfield and North East London in Hertford Road, Enfield, hosted the fair at which more than 30 businesses welcomed prospective employees on March the 31st. The last two most recent job fairs attracted more than 300 people, and businesses such as BT, London Waste, North Middlesex NHS Trust, Reed and Tesco were prepared for the job hopefuls. Councillor Alan Sitkin, Cabinet Member for Economic Development, said, "These job fairs are a great way of bringing important large employers in touch with people of all ages who want employment, training or apprenticeship offers. As always, there was a good turnout, and feedback was that applicants and employers found the day rewarding, informative and a great tool to get a job."
Staff at an optician's donated school supplies to help children in India. Jaswinder Singh Nagra, store director at Specsavers in Green Lanes, Palmer's Green, and his team donated items including backpacks and new shoes to pupils of Gonachuk Primary School in the city of Jalhanda. Mr. Nagra, 35, said, "I'm a passionate believer in every child's right to an education, and I wanted to do my bit to support children in the city I grew up in who might otherwise be unable to afford the costs associated with schooling. When I found out my parents would be making a trip to Jalhanda, I knew this was an opportunity to help. This was something my colleagues also felt passionately about, and we're pleased to have gifts that help make a difference."
Parents at the Berkeley Road play space in Berkeley Road Turnpike Lane had the chance to quiz the Shadow Children's Minister about Labour policies. Alison McGovern met mums and workers at the Berkeley Road play space and discussed childcare, cuts to children's centres and getting parents back to work. Childcare costs were the main concern of parents in attendance, and Ms McGovern outlined Labour's plans should the party win power at the general election on May the 7th. Mrs McGovern said, "Families facing a cost of living crisis under David Cameron are coming under increasing pressure from soaring childcare costs at the same time as falling childcare places and reduced support from this Tory-led government." Labour would extend free childcare for 3 and 4-year-olds with parents in work from 15 to 25 hours, worth £1,500 per child per year. We would also introduce a legal guarantee of childcare from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. for parents of primary-aged children, helping families to balance work and family life. The charity is run entirely by volunteers and provides a variety of sessions for under-5s to support carers and parents from the surrounding community.
A carpentry company has admitted failing to ensure the health and safety of its employees after the death of a 16-year-old. Rooftop Rooms, based in Baker Street, Enfield, pleaded guilty to the charge after Alfie Perrin, 16, of Enfield, fell from scaffolding in Camden Road, Wanstead, on November 14, 2012. Andrew Voy, 35, an employee of the company, was found not guilty of manslaughter at Snaresbrook Crown Court on Tuesday, March 31st. During the trial, the court heard the teenager had been instructed to clear rubbish and timber offcuts from the roof behind a 2-storey house. Mr. Perrin then threw the material into a skip at the front of the house where there was no edge protection. The scaffold platform had a large gap at one end where a ladder should have been fitted or scaffold poles used to reduce the risk of falling. The court heard neither a ladder nor scaffold poles were in place. The teenager fell after throwing a bag of rubble from the scaffold platform into the skip. He was treated at the scene but later died in hospital. Rooftop Rooms pleaded guilty to failure to discharge a duty imposed by the Health and Safety at Work Act. The company also pleaded guilty for failing to conduct the loft conversion in such a way to ensure that persons not in its employment were not exposed to risks to their health and safety. No date has yet been confirmed for sentencing.
The groom in a sham marriage faces deportation after the ceremony was cut short by immigration officers. The man, who is from outside the EU, was arrested as he was about to be married at Enfield Registry Office in Gentleman's Row, Enfield Town. His would-be bride was questioned by officers from the Home Office but was later released. The man is now set to be deported. Enfield Borough Council leader, Councillor Doug Taylor, said, "These operations are examples of the successful work we are doing with the Home Office colleagues to combat immigration abuse in Enfield. We work closely with other law enforcement agencies across the area to prevent people from abusing the marriage system in a bid to get round our immigration laws. Where we receive information about a wedding may be suspicious, we will work with the Home Office, who will investigate and, if necessary, intervene and arrest those involved."
Empty and run-down homes on the Ridgeway risk the area becoming a fly-tipper's paradise, the councillor has claimed. Conservative councillor for Chase Ward, Nick Dines, says 2 properties on the road have long caused concern for residents living nearby, not only because they attract piles of dumped rubbish, but also for remaining unoccupied despite a pressing local need for housing. "I understand that the council is in talks with the leaseholders of the properties, and I hope this is resolved as a matter of urgency," said Mr. Dines. "We have a housing shortage in Enfield, and here are 2 properties that have been abandoned and are literally falling apart. I don't think it's acceptable that the first thing thousands of people see when they enter Enfield off the M25 is tons of litter," he added. A council spokesman said, "Enfield Council will seek to ensure the culprits responsible for this fly tipping clear up their mess and deal responsibly with their waste." And so, as we've come to the end of side 1, please stop your machine, take out the cassette, turn it over and start side 2.